Hit the lights!
You've discovered the Halfwatt Podcast. We want to educate and entertain by tapping into the most trusted source of new technology, the ones installing and innovating it. You, the tradespeople that build from the ground up. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, veteran contractors, and even some young blood.
Welcome aboard. Wow, 2024. Here we are. Welcome aboard. So tonight we're talking with Tyler Clausen. Tyler.
Hey, how's it going?
Big timer.
Yeah.
So we have been chatting about a couple of different things. I want to get this off my chest first before we get into our major discussion. And that I had a little meltdown at work about software. And I just want to say that I think it's wonderful that they have 1,000 different ways to do stuff. To skin a cat. And I love the fact that everybody's got some tool, some new application, some new gizmo to make our lives simpler. But I do have to say that when it comes right down to it, all right, the more complicated you make something for somebody in the field who's doing real work, real turning screws, blowing smoke, installing stuff, the harder you make for that person, the less efficient they are ultimately.
Yeah.
The less customer service they're going to do and the less money they're going to
The less money that's going to come in.
Right?
100%.
And you know, like I know, when you're working for a company, all the muckety mucks and bean counters, you know, all they care about is wheelbarrows of cash coming through the door and how you're affecting that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's amazing to me sometimes. I think about this a lot, actually, because I'm on the job all the time and I deal with it, is like, we're installing fire systems or access systems or data systems, but you and I in particular are doing fire systems. I'm working in, 6, 7 story buildings. I know that there's dudes out there doing high rises and stuff, so I'm not trying to say I do big ones, but it's a building, right? It's a large building that you are running an entire system for, but it all comes to a screeching halt because the head of one screw snapped off.
Yeah. In the wrong position, in the wrong
spot.
place. Yeah.
And now everyone shut up. Everyone shut up. My screw is gone. We all need to find this one specific size screw
with this one thread.
Yeah, that fits into this specific hole. And if we don't fix that, the system doesn't work because the pull station is broken open or the key is broken in the pull station and it's in an alarm state. You can't lock it. Like, the system is broken. Yeah. 6 floors. 127 modules out in the field, but one screw, one key breaks, and it shuts down. And it's just that same idea. Like, if you put more obstacles in front of people, the money stops.
Yeah.
And the whole company has to wait for everybody to catch up with the new new management, with new operations protocol.
Yeah. Yes.
With new software.
Yep.
Like, there's so many different things that you can put in people's way, and it just slows it all down.
So it's like Office Space. So if you have not watched Office Space, if you are not intimately familiar with Office Space, the movie, and you listen to this podcast, shame on you if you have not seen that movie. But that is exactly, have you, we're using TPS reports. Everybody's, I got the memo. I just forgot. I'll send you another memo. That is exactly what it feels like when you're out trying to do something. And in the middle of it, your phone's ringing, the client's upset. Your boss is like, hey, you got another call to do. You're like, look, man, stop. Let me focus on this. and then, but, in our case, we were earlier talking about inspections and different software methods. Like, some people use Excel, some people use fillable PDFs, some people use building reports, and I'll plug them. Some people use this other product. And anytime, your company says, well, this is the latest and greatest, and they hand it to you, and then in their minds, It's like, okay, you've already implemented
got it.
You've
Go
got
do
it,
it.
right?
It's the same as a screwdriver.
Yes. There's no time. There's no ramping in to figure this shit out. You just did it. You're just magical because you figured it out. And you're going, hey, man, my phone doesn't work. I got no Wi-Fi connection, and every time you're giving them like an excuse on what's going on, they're looking at you like you're from outer space.
Yeah.
All they give a shit about is how come there's not more wheelbarrows of goddamn money coming through the front door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
We've given you what you need to get the job done.
We give you all the tools you need.
Yeah.
It just,
but I don't know how to use
Oh my God.
I don't know how to use this tool. It's a screwdriver with 3 sides. How's that even work?
Who makes a 3-sided
secret
screwdriver?
compartment.
Why is it blinking? Fuck. No, it's exactly right, man. So anyway, I kind of went off this morning and I wasn't on anybody in particular, but it was over software. And I just said, at some point, you're gonna out software. You're gonna software us to death.
Yeah.
Okay. At some point, some schmuck is going to be out there bending pipe or pulling wire or doing what he's got to do to get this job done.
Yeah.
And so the best thing that can be done for that field technician is to shut your pie hole and support the technician.
Yeah.
Do what needs to happen so that the technician is doing what he's doing, so that the customer is getting what they need.
Yeah.
Because the job is to fix the customer. And the job is to fix the piece of equipment that's driving the customer bat crap crazy. And however you get in the middle of that and screw that up for the technician,
yeah,
you're now.
I think honestly a big problem, and I say this, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I think a big problem is that we've started to give technicians more technology. Mm-hmm. So if you look at like the relationship between the chain of command is apprentice, journeyman, foreman, project manager, operations manager. A very simplified ladder of who's in charge of what, right? Mm-hmm. Who's answering to who. And, I think there was a point where project managers, operations managers, they had computers. They were the ones sitting at a computer. So they're the ones that are answering emails and making phone calls.
Counting beans.
Yeah. And then they would call the foreman and be like, hey, this is what's happening on our side. What's going on the field? And the foreman goes, well, this is what we got finishing up here. We're gonna do stuff there. And then they communicate. They do their little job. They have their meetings. And everybody does their thing. That whole time, the foreman's on site helping the technician do work, and the technician's watching the apprentice and helping them learn, and it works efficiently.
Allegedly.
Sometimes you learn by doing a bad
and
job.
I've heard those conversations.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell? You speak weasel?
But then this great invention came out called the cell phone,
right?
Which is basically a computer in your pocket. And now the foreman gets emails. The technician gets emails. Sometimes the apprentice gets emails. And they're like, hold up. We got to stop doing our job so that we can answer these emails and we can look at this whole email chain that's come in. And it's like, that's the project manager's job. That's the office people's jobs to be the net that catches all that and goes, leave my techs alone so that they can do their job.
So the technicians aren't bothered by who left the back door open yesterday, and we found it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like where you all of a sudden, well, someone didn't take the trash out. You got to take the trash out every goddamn day. You're like, really? This is the most important goddamn thing you can think of?
We're saying this on a podcast that's being listened to on phones at work, by the way.
No, I get it.
The irony is not escaping us.
Isn't it ironic? It's like a black fly in your Chardonnay. But, I'm just saying... The technology can be good or bad.
Yeah.
Don't use your cell phone to pound nails. Boo. Wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Do use your cell phone to listen to our podcast. Yay.
Yeah.
Right?
Subscribe.
Don't throw
leave a review.
Yes. Subscribe. Leave a review.
Stop doing your job for 5 minutes. Tell other people about it.
Yeah. I mean, we should. Well, I mean, okay. So at this point in doing, it's 2024. In this point in doing this podcast, as long as we have, how come we have no corporate sponsors? Like, have we pissed off everybody in the industry that they don't want to sponsor?
You know what it was? It was the name episode where we
tried to name stuff.
A bunch of names out there.
That's Gage's fault, bastard. So I think, look, if you like this podcast, and this is important to you because we do represent your trade, right? All you low voltage guys, and even you non-low voltage guys, because there's some people, I even have a low voltage guy I work with who's getting his LVME. So he's actually working in high voltage. Nice. I still call him a friend. No. But if this is for you, you got to go back to your company and go, hey, man, you should be listening to this. Like, get one of our flyers. Tell your general manager, your service manager, get off his ass and hire us. Like, have us come do this stuff from your conference room on your meeting day.
I'd be happy to show up. Hell yeah, man.
I would show up. I don't work Fridays. I don't give a shit. So, let's do something like that. Let's go do stuff in the field. Let's meet these guys that are listening to our podcast. Go do a live broadcast.
One of the things I've always wanted to really have is a community of people that write in and tell us what they're dealing with. Like anything. Like literally, if they're like, "Hey, I was dealing with this. This sucked." We're happy to just have episodes where we read those stories and talk about it on the show.
If we got them, got a bunch of them.
Yeah, it would be awesome. It would be great. I want to cultivate a community that where if I was an apprentice, I would be excited to be integrating into that community. Right. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And so, that's always been a huge part of this, a huge part of what we do. And this is a huge tangent off of us complaining about
I'm pissed off about the software right now.
the software. But but I do genuinely I would love to hear more from our community. And we don't have any real sponsors or anything. I mean, we've done a partnership with Milwaukee when we did
Milwaukee,
that episode.
and we're definitely not dogging them.
And they've sent us stuff, and we've done our giveaway, which was super awesome. That was huge.
That was a lot of fun. Actually, I laughed my ass off.
Gage did such a good job. He got it into gear right at the end of the year to make that happen. So I was really excited for that.
He's that one that's all tatted up, right? That guy.
Yeah,
the Navy guy.
And I would love to continue to do that, and so, hell yeah. If we can get more people to come in or to write in, that justifies stuff. People, I know, I talk to people all the time. Anytime I'm on a job site, if I see someone pulling low voltage, I hand them a sticker. I'm like, hey, check it out, and I'm spreading the gospel of half watt. That's what I do.
Well, that's what, and I know I don't, because I have a fixed. Patients don't care about our podcast, it turns out. Like, if I staple one of those flyers to their heads, they get really mad.
Well, but the doctors get more money, right?
Why is it stapled to your forehead? What is the half watt? But, it's just not, my audience is limited. I mean, I have a lot of people, but I don't go down the hallway and say, look, I realize that you have terminal cancer, but if you would just come out of your coma long enough to listen to what I have to say.
We don't need to come out of their coma. Just put the headphones over their ears, press play.
My wife says that I should have done sleepy time. Like when I start talking about really complicated things, she passes out.
Yeah. So just record yourself talking about, physics and stuff.
Right. Let's talk about the electron. I can hear people crashing all over the highways. Oh, Mike went on away with tangents again. But I think that if we could do field interviews with people, if we could get more people through the door, like I had a guy reach out to me today.
Yeah.
Well, Colton reached out to me to show me a fire panel that I had heard of but never really seen, and he's working on. It's I want to say it's off the top of my head. Mallory. It's the one that they put in I can show you. I got a picture of it right here.
Have you ever heard of the Moose?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Moose was
I
a
worked on
big
a Moose the other day.
Monaco. That's what it is. This is a Monaco fire panel.
Oh.
Monaco's. Scott Leclerc at PSI told me what Monaco was. It was a brand out of Spokane. Spoken. And they do a lot of military and government installations. And,
okay.
Colton's working on it. So
nice.
He just sent me that today.
Yeah.
So we have information coming from Oklahoma, a state that I don't even think exists, but whatever. But if this is for you, right?
Yeah.
Jump in.
I want to hear from every tech from every state, man. I want to hear what it's like to be a low a monkey, wire monkey in the East Coast, IT guy on in Texas. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
we want to see Florida, man.
I want to hear what it's like to run the fire system in Disneyland.
Right. That's a good. Yeah.
That would be a crazy cool episode.
The guy who used to sell stuff to him is Kurt Hink from Simplex. He actually used to sell for Anaheim for the Disneyland in Anaheim.
That's crazy.
Yeah, honest to God, he did that before he came up here to Portland. So I mean, there are people out here who know it.
I bet it's really intricate. I bet there's some crazy stuff going on over there, right? Because like they've got all kinds of stuff. Doesn't Disney have? I mean, we can go super deep into Disney conspiracy theories, but doesn't Disney have a specific color of green that they paint stuff so that you don't notice it?
I don't know if it's green. I know that they have seen their heads painted because last time I was there, I could see it.
They had what now?
They paint their heads.
They paint the okay
to match the decor.
Yeah,
because I can't go anywhere where I'm not
noticing. That's a pretty good install. I did that at my storage unit the other day. I walked into my storage unit. I was like, "This is a pretty good install." So if you did the Oregon City Trojan storage unit,
Trojan man, that's a different kind of a Trojan.
That's a different Trojan.
I've been by that Trojan all the time.
Yeah,
we have
massive
feed stores up there for horses.
Whoever did the fire system there,
really?
Kudos, well done.
Wow.
Yeah,
and is it a silent night?
I don't know. I just see the wire and the way that they ran the wire because it's all exposed with the metal ceiling.
Well, there's an electrical company right across the street from them. Maybe they did it. Prairie, I think, is right there.
Oh, okay.
Right there on this, right across the street from them. Maybe they just walked across the street.
Prairie, reach out. Let us know if you want to be
on
on the show.
What's up with that? But
we need to have specific companies. Like, we need to talk to people around us, right? We have a ton of companies in the Portland area. A ton. If you type in, like, security systems or fire systems, you're going to get, like, 100 different people just in Portland.
Yeah.
Not even, like, Salem and, Bend or wherever, Spokane, wherever. Like, Portland alone. So I want to meet people because we talk about performance. Right. We talk about my company.
We talk about Everon. We talk
ADT,
about,
yeah.
It's not ADT.
It's not ADT. Well, I was saying it because we've talked about it when it was ADT.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Talked about up on the hill all the time, the hospital. Like, we got our three.
We got those down. and then Gage.
And Gage, yeah. I want to hear from the small companies.
Right.
I want to hear from the guys that like have 4 or 5 techs and you're just running out of somebody's garage. I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, and we've had Dakota on. And Kieran also started his own company. It's Halfwatt Electric. Yes, straight goods. And he did not steal the name. He just happened to choose Halfwatt.
Yeah.
And we just happened to choose Halfwatt.
Sounds like he's a genius. He is. Whoever came up with that
name. Genius. So yeah, he's good. He knows his stuff. So I talk to him from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in Dakota and watching him grow.
Yeah.
And his company.
If you have a small business, if you have a business and you're interested in promoting what you do, if you take pride in your work, give us a call. Drop us an email. We want to have you on the show. We want to
do something.
We want to start doing roundtables with people more so that we're just chatting and talking about what it's like to be in the industry, what it's like to deal with 1,000 emails a day.
Oh, that's the worst. Well, okay, now, and I do this thing on my first night of class where I go around and introduce everybody and see where they work and what they did before they got into the trade so that everybody realizes that, oh, gosh, you worked as a bartender. I worked as a bartender. I had a guy who was a pilot, right? I mean, there's all these different backgrounds. So even if you come in here because you happen to be an electrician now, the guy we were going to interview tonight who wound up having to work was a SEAL.
Yeah.
So I have a total man crush.
Yeah.
Let's have a total man crush.
I've been hearing stories about this guy before I even met you.
Yeah.
Because of people I know that have worked with him.
Yeah. He's the real McCoy, and he's a good guy. And he just, I wouldn't poke him in the eye. Oh, maybe you can poke him in the eye.
I'm not gonna poke him.
Why don't you poke him in the eye?
I've heard what he can do. I'm not gonna poke him in the eye.
That's for you, Jim. So anyway. But there's people out there with interesting skill sets. Like
Yeah.
I had a guy who worked for me who got into, I always wanted to do this. He bought the parachute and the big gas powered fan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, like
paragliding.
paragliding, yeah.
Yeah. And he did that. He broke
Yeah.
his leg doing it, but he still did it.
What?
Yeah. And then he left our company and went and opened up his own suppression company. So and he's a total like that's his crazy ass sports are his thing.
Yeah.
So he's living on the edge of time. And
Yeah.
we got to get him in here quick before he bounces into an electrical wire or something. But that's it's that for this year. What I'm looking for is to get more guests and more roundtables. The roundtables are fun.
They're really fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to people just chat. Interviews are really cool, right?
There's nothing wrong with that.
It gets a little monotonous of like, okay, here's another question for you. Let's dive into this. It's always fun to get to know people and see where they're at. But the roundtables where people, I feel like people are more excited to share their ideas, and what they've experienced a little bit more.
I think you're right.
And I that's what I get really excited about listening to. And it's a little bit more lighthearted. You can say fun, stupid things, and it's a little more entertaining. So
I like that, and I think you're right. I love to lecture, but I lecture all the time. And it's like who wants to listen to me
every
lecture
week.
all the goddamn time? So and it's nice to get a break. It's nice to get something different happening. So we're begging you. We're not. I mean, look, I'll beg. Okay, let me get on my knees. Hold on.
okay, you're actually getting on your knees. That's
Okay, I'm right now. I'm on my knees. I'm begging you. You're listening to this podcast. Get off your ass and send us an email. Get a hold of us and let's get you in here. All right, hold on.
halfwattpod
Give him
at
the
gmail.com.
because I can't get it right.
Yeah.
Halfwattpod@gmail.com.
That's it.
So let's get you in here and let's talk. Let's have some fun.
Share your stories even through the. I mean, genuinely, we want to read stories.
Yeah.
That's been a goal of mine since day one. Like that was when I went to Mike to present this idea. I was like, we can set up an email. People can email us. We can do episodes where we just read it. That's what I've wanted from day one. So if you guys if you're in Washington, California, Idaho, and you can't make it all the way to downtown Canby, Oregon, that's fine. We can do remote episodes. We can, or over the internet, we can read.
Does this include
emails.
Vancouver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
All right.
Okay. Speaking of Vancouver, if you're in Canada, I think we have a couple of Canadian listeners.
If you're godless Canadian, you can come here too.
You can write in.
What if you live in Washougal? My new name for Washougal is Washougal.
Washougal?
I ran that past my wife. She goes, "What?" I said, "It's not Washougal. It's Washougal. It's one syllable. Washougal. It's Washougal."
I think we
It's where they
have.
make washing
I think
machines.
we have a couple listeners in the UK as well.
Oh, I would love to have. I would love to hear what they
Yeah.
have to say. I would love to hear.
So one of the things I talked to my wife about was like, what if we left America? Like, where would we go if we were like, it's too much. Living in America is just too much, right? Some people might agree with it. Some people might disagree with it. But I'm like, what else is out there in the world, right?
Where would you go?
So what we talked about was, okay, UK would be another place.
Yeah.
That's almost it.
Really?
Until,
of all the places to go in the entire globe?
We want English speaking, right? Because we're not going to learn another language.
You're not going to learn Mandarin?
She said probably Korea would be on her list. And I was like, that's fine, except there's that whole northern section that freaks me out, man.
Well,
but then I was like, what about good old Middle Earth? Some New Zealand action.
Yeah. Or Australia.
Nope. No Australia.
You're not going because of the spiders?
The spiders, the crocodiles.
Because everything wants to sting and bite you and
everything
kill you.
wants to kill you
Yeah,
in Australia.
I have to agree with that.
The air, the plants, the animals, and most of the time the people.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, that's a good call. I'm sorry, Australia.
But you go a few hundred miles to the west, to the east.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. And bam, you're in New Zealand,
That's
God's
better.
paradise, right?
Yeah.
And I looked into it, and there's actually at least they did at the time. I don't know if they do anymore. It was a few years ago I looked, but they actually had these open applications that you could fill out if you have trade experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where you could basically be like, hey, I'm a local technician. I want to live in New Zealand for the next 3 years. Can I work for you guys? And you basically get a work visa. You get a job.
I'd go to
when you
New
show
Zealand
up.
and work.
Right?
I didn't say that to my boss who's listening. Never mind. I'll stay here. But if you're not listening, dude, I'll go to New Zealand to work. I just love the accent.
Yeah.
Or South Africa. I'd go to South Africa.
You go to South Africa?
Oh, shit, yeah, absolutely.
I only know one or two things about South Africa, and I don't like it.
I wouldn't. I mean, I would go there just to. I've been to Africa, but I've never been to South Africa. I was on East Africa, but I would go there. I would go to Kenya.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get bombed or blow up, but I would go to places that, I don't want to go to the Middle East right now. It seems a little touchy, but where I wanted to go when I divorced was St. Martin. I totally was. I fell in love with St. Martin.
That's in the.
It's in the Caribbean.
Caribbean, yeah. Okay.
And it's half French and half Dutch, and so my idea was to go there, and I probably wasn't going to do fire. I was going to have to do security or access control, probably security, and fire both. I was willing to throw my hat in the ring to do. Look, if it has a wire on it, I'll probably figure it out, and then you can get dual citizenship there, and then you can either go to France or almost
Denmark.
Thank you. God, my brain completely vaporized.
What'd you almost call it?
Deutschland.
Deutschland.
No, come on.
That's Germany,
That's Germany. No, but it just kind of went. It actually said Dutchland, and I went. That's a little stupid. So right off the bat, now I can't immigrate there because they won't have nothing. They won't. To do with me. But no, I really wanted to go to France, or Denmark, and that was my goal was to go live in Europe, and I happen to have a very strong affection for the French. People love to make fun of the French. They just think that's hilarious to call them cheese eating surrender monkeys and all that crap. I will put out a couple of things. The French have very strong military. The French have ballistic missiles. You know where the French ballistic missiles are pointed at? No, I don't know either. You know the people who know? The French. Do you know where they're pointed at? The French point them at whoever the French want to point them at. They could be pointed at Malala. They could be pointed at Russia. They could be pointed at the United Kingdom. Who the hell knows? Yeah. But the French are very independent. You raise the retirement age in France, they just stop France. It just stops. They just lock the place down until the people and get a hold of the government and you say, we don't like that. Yeah. And then the government's like, well, that didn't work out and stuff. So they fix it. So that's, you get sick, the doctor comes to your door. He comes to your house. Well, you shouldn't go, if you're sick, out. The guy should come to you. So people can, I'm getting off on a tangent, but it's like, look.
Yeah, this is very.
The people make a lot of noise about countries that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. But when you actually understand some of these countries, like Germany and France and Denmark and the United Kingdom, it's like this is a different world. Yeah. And these people have a different way of looking at things and a different way of fixing things and a different way of living. And because it's different, it's not wrong. It's just different.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just
and
different.
I think that's why it would be cool. I mean, now I think it's a little too late with us trying to put down some roots here in the area, like with having a kid, buying a house, and doing all that jazz. If I had been a technician in my early 20s, if I had been smart enough to start in this industry early, I think that it's an exceedingly valid idea of going, I am a journeyman electrician, and this skill set transfers anywhere.
Yeah.
As long as you
Absolutely.
can figure out the language on the banner,
Yeah.
like if you can translate
you
that,
can even go to Oklahoma.
then you can do this anywhere. Electricity is the same all over the world. It doesn't change.
That is absolutely wrong. Who told you that?
Oh, French electricity is
French
better?
electricity is
We are so much better.
their fingers up in the air. It's a whole thing. It's a
Yeah.
whole thing. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, they do have a different. Okay,
Right.
they use
have-
50 hertz.
Yeah.
What's up with that? Is 50 divisible? Can you divide 360 by 50?
No.
No. How the hell does that work out? I don't even want to know. But you can divide. You can divide 360 by 60, and it works out. I have no idea how 50 hertz works.
Yeah.
But I still love y'all with 50 hertz, even though it's wrong. I think it's great.
So if you could go anywhere to be a technician, you do your job that you're doing now, but anywhere in the world, you'd go to France?
No, I'd go to St. Martin.
Oh, okay.
I'd go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And then I would get citizenship there, and then I would
And
maybe
then you could go
vacation
to-
in
oh,
France,
okay.
or maybe vacation in Amsterdam or something. But I'd
Is
stay in
St. Martin's like got the infrastructure that you would?
It gets
have?
wiped off the face of the planet every time there's a big old hurricane. So you're
So
always
you have
like
to
fixing
rebuild
stuff.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean they got hurricane-proof buildings and stuff like that. But it's just a beautiful island, and the people there are incredible. I went there. I went to St. Thomas. I went to St. Martin. I went to, I think, one of the Ks, and of all the places I've been in the world, and I've been to the Philippines and Korea and Japan and
Yeah, you've traveled a lot.
Kenya, Diego Garcia, which is this rock, this British-owned rock in the middle of the IO. I've been a bunch of places. Singapore. I love Singapore. Loved it. Just absolutely loved it. But I would either go to Asia, I'd go back to Southeast Asia. The Philippines comes to mind because I love the Philippines, or I would go to St. Martin.
Yeah.
Because in St. Martin, I took a tour and got to meet some people and met just real folks there and just fell in love with the place. Just absolutely fell in love with it. The nicest people in the world. Kenya, when I was in Kenya in '84, we went nose to nose with a Soviet freighter there, and when that happened, they freaked out, pulled their ACOM ladder, and mounted a guard on the forecastle with an AK-47. And
Goodness gracious.
they were absolutely thought like we were coming to hurt them, and so they gave us very specific instructions to not like give these guys any crap because it was still a Cold War. So we got off the ship. There's only, 400 sailors and 900 Marines. So, 2/3 of us or whatever got off the boat. So we're all walking by and we're trying not to make eye contact. And there's a bunch of Soviet sailors just kind of watching us walk by. And I made eye contact with one. And you could see it in his eyes. He was like, "You lucky son of a bitch." He goes, "They pulled the ACOM ladder when you bastards showed up, and so we can't go on liberty now because we're about to go tear Mombasa apart." And anyway, I went out and drank beer and had a good time. And I came back. I bought a bunch of carved animals there. But at one point, I was coming back on the bus, and the bus was being guarded by a 14-year-old with an SKS rifle. Honest to God. Yeah, we get on the bus and there's a kid with a rifle. I mean, an automatic SKS standing to guard us on the bus, which I don't know what the hell he's guarding us from. I don't know if it's pissed off giraffes or what. But anyway, okay, just as long as I don't get shot. So I think I see the stop I'm supposed to get off, and so I get off on this stop, and I realize that I'm like 2 miles from the boat.
Yeah.
And I did that a lot as a drunken sailor because I just was stupid. So I get off the boat, and I wasn't drunk, but I get off the bus, and I've got all this shit with me unpacking. And there's a guy who got off before me, and he was probably 70, 100 feet ahead of me. And so I'm walking the same direction he is. And he works for this port. And I know I've got a long ways to walk, and he does too. So he just stops, and I catch up to him, and he's a local guy, and he speaks English because they were a British colony. And he goes, "Well, what's your name?" And I told him, and he told me his name, and we got to talk. And it was one of the most memorable conversations I've had,
Wow.
except I can't remember his name, but it was one of the most memorable conversations I had because I had no idea just how well grounded these folks were and how much they appreciated us being there, how much money we spent in their town, how much it meant for us. You know, he kind of dug into the Soviet Union because they didn't spend any money and because probably didn't have any to spend. And he goes, when you guys show up, because 4 ships showed up,
Right.
and he goes, you guys, like, you know, we all come alive.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do you do? He goes, oh, I work here. And he did some sort of maintenance work for him. And it just was a fantastic time. He invited me to his house. I mean, geez, you know, it was like the whole 9 yards. I thought, God, here I am. I'm literally on the other side of the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel more at home with this guy than if I'd walked down the streets of San Diego.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, 3rd and F Street in San Diego, you get your head crushed. So I was like, this wasn't going to happen here.
That's a big thing with, like, there's the term othering people, right? When you make them, it's those people, you dehumanize them, right? And that's what causes a ton of conflict in any situation.
You're right.
I mean, we can get down to even like you work for company A installing, silent night devices. You other the other companies and the techs that work for them, and now they're the enemy, they're competition. They're installing the exact same system.
Thing, man.
They're doing the exact same thing as you. They have a family. They have wants and needs and hobbies outside of work, and they hang out with their buddies. They're most likely friends with your friends' friends. Like, you guys are somehow connected, but you look at them and go, oh, we don't associate with those guys. Like,
There's always 6 degrees of separation. Right? Everybody knows Kevin Bacon. What the hell?
And so you extrapolate that out to the world, right? And that's exactly the lesson, is like learning to accept people for just being human. And the more you expose yourself to it, the more you see that people are just people. They're not those people. They're other people. The most amount of exposure I got to that was I did a mission trip down in Peru for a week, and I went down there and I hung out with in a hotel with a family of people, and then we would go into the village and we would go. I ended up playing with kids a bunch because I'm a big goofball and I fit in the clown outfit. So
there you go.
It very quickly became the children of this Peruvian village hunted me down to hit me with sticks because I was the guy. It was great. It was fun as heck.
Hey,
I loved it.
Yeah.
I even ended up on the radio down
no
there.
Kidding.
Yeah.
On Peruvian radio?
Peruvian radio.
How
Yeah.
cool
it was
would that
really
be?
fun. And you just hang out with people, right? Like, and you're just there to talk to them. And that was so crazy. It was so fun to be able to have that experience of just being like, normally we say, oh, these other cultures, they do these weird things and I don't understand it. But to go and integrate and go and try and be a part of it.
Well,
I deep fried guinea pig.
Really?
Week. Yeah.
They eat guinea pig there?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Like
It was
how
good?
we eat chickens.
Yeah, they eat guinea pig?
They eat guinea pig. They have. I was walking down the street.
I had no
right?
idea guinea
Me and
pig
my
was
my
a
now wife,
delicacy.
then girlfriend. We were walking down the street.
Big timer.
Yeah, and we're just talking about stuff, and all of a sudden we hear, and we look over, and there is a crate of guinea pigs, and like they showed us, they open it up, and it's you open it, they're just crawling all over each other, and we're like, what are all these guinea pigs for? And they're like, it's food,
It's chow. Yeah.
it's pig.
Yeah, no,
You
it is what I certainly, we got, the first time I got to Singapore, we get off the boat and everybody wanted to go to McDonald's. I have no idea why. And so we heard
it's
we'd
delicious.
No, I mean in Singapore. And I was like,
Oh,
okay,
okay,
no,
right,
I mean,
yeah.
and rightfully so. You're away from home and it reminds you of home. And, I get it. So, no, I didn't get it. Anyway, we saw the line and I thought, we're not going to wait in that line.
Yeah.
It was huge. So there was this big, like, warehouse. If you could imagine just the roof of a warehouse, like the top part of it and the outside's, hollow. So people can walk in and out with like a chain wall. Remember they used to have trucks where instead of having a roll up door, they had chain.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what the whole thing was around the outside. So they could
That's
lock
crazy.
it with chain.
Yeah.
You know, they had a track on it and stuff. And I said, well, that looks like they serve food.
Yeah.
And then like the lunch bell rang or something, and all the Singaporeans piled out of their buildings and into this place.
Yeah.
Across the street. So I was like, we have to go there and look. And it was 5 rows of little tiny food things. You could get everything. You could get like sugar cane.
Mm-hmm.
They would take sugar cane and run it through this little hand press and give you cane,
Really?
sugar cane drink right there.
Yeah.
Like that. If that was what one of the stalls was. We ate there morning, noon, and night. The whole time we were in Portland.
Really?
Every time I went to Singapore, I ate. And they were all over Singapore. So you could eat you could get on the train in Singapore and eat on the floor. I've never been in a place so clean in my life.
Really?
It is unbelievably clean. You can't chew gum there. You get in trouble, they hit you with a cane. So, I mean, you don't want to screw up. But the food was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I remember eating there and thinking, watching like they all had colored plates and colored chopsticks and colored colored plates and cups and stuff, and then you get your chopsticks. And like I was eating like these purple colored plates, and then you could see the guy wash the plates behind the thing in a 5-gallon bucket with soap. And I'm thinking, I don't have dishwashers here at the time, I'm thinking, well, hell with it. I mean, it's all one big. And there was even in this place there was a wharf rat that walked across the top of the inside the thing.
A wharf rat?
Yeah, it's bigger than my dog. It's bigger than one of my dogs. It must have been 20 pounds.
What?
I've never seen a rat so big in my life.
It was just a rat.
Yeah, it looked like a nutria on steroids.
Oh my gosh.
And it was and I went, what the hell was that? It had a long tail. And I went, wow. And the guy goes, I think that's a wharf rat. I think that's called a wharf rat. And I'm like, and it was just there. Like, I don't know. We're in the Navy. Like,
Yeah.
we'd eaten lots of weird things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we would get on a train and go to different parts of Singapore, of the city, and see it. And then there would be another one of these like little places to eat, or not little, but these places full of food. Oh man. And the beer was cheap. Oh my God.
Yeah.
We just ate like kings. I mean, I ate myself silly in Singapore. Oh my God. I did the same thing in Hong Kong, but it was more of a different, more of a different feel.
Sure.
Plus I got Montezuma's Revenge.
Oh, really?
Out of Hong Kong. I mean, I got whatever that is.
Almost died.
Yeah, it was. No, I didn't die, but it. There's when you go to Mexico and you drink the water and you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Only I got that in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not pretty. It was not pretty. But I survived. I'm here.
All right. So you'd go and enjoy island life as a.
I would go to St. Martin in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I would specifically be trying to get a job somewhere near Hobbiton in New Zealand.
Hobbiton?
Yeah.
Is that a place?
Yeah, man. Have
What
you
do they
seen
make?
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where they start in the Shire, the place
That's a real place?
they built that for real.
Oh! I thought it was like
No, it
in
didn't
Hollywood.
exist before the
Well, I
movie.
guess they filmed it in New
Yeah,
Zealand.
they filmed it in New Zealand.
Is the Matrix there?
No.
They filmed that there.
Did they really?
Yeah, they didn't know that?
They filmed The Matrix in New Zealand?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the guy, the Agent Smith,
Yeah.
he's a New Zealand actor. He's from New Zealand.
Okay.
He's he played on Longmire. He played the sheriff in Longmire.
Okay.
And so he's like,
Yeah.
man. Oh yeah, he's
Nice.
they filmed it in New Zealand.
But yeah, like I wonder if St. Martin's has the same situation or not. But I'm interested now to see what other places have this sort of like temporary visa to go work. Because if you're a young technician, if you don't have a family, if you're like, I'm doing my job, I'm saving up money, I'm kind of just living life, like it might be worth doing. It could be a way for you to go and see the world and see new cultures and learn different things, right? While you're working. Like I think that's probably one of the coolest things that a lot of trades, provide is that it's an opportunity to learn and become better while you're getting paid to do it, compared to let me shell out thousands and thousands of dollars to go learn how to do something I'm probably not going to use.
Right.
Which I speak from experience.
So you have a degree?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
In what? Marketing, right?
I got my degree in it's been so long. Video production and media.
You're in that field now tonight.
Yeah, because I've like scraped and clawed to be able to do this, right? And so I started podcasting when I was trying to get a job as a t-shirt printer and videographer. I wanted to be a videographer that, I would go, you hire me and I do whatever. Yeah. Weddings, music videos, whatever. My ultimate goal when I went to film school, and I say film school, it sounds more prestigious than it was, but when I went to school for film school, I wanted to come out of it and start making very specifically Christian band music videos. That's what I wanted to do with my life.
Okay.
Because bands like Emery,
DC Talk, Skillet.
DC Talk was a little bit older at the time. Skillet, yes, absolutely.
Skillet was really good.
Demon Hunter was a big one of mine. Like these bands, they would make music videos, and I was like, "This is dope. Yeah. I love the music. I love the message. I love the video making aspect. So let's put it all together." I got my degree, came out, and there's nobody that's going to hire me to do that. Like, especially in like Portland, Oregon, nobody's going to hire me to do that. So,
but there are other bands. I mean,
yeah. So I was like, let me go find other places where I can work. And this one guy in Woodburn was like, "Hey, come on in, and we'll chat." And I sent him the link to my YouTube page where I had done some videos. And he's like, "Man, you do some good videos. It's really cool. Would you like to be on my podcast?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that is.
No kidding.
I have no idea what that is." And he's like, "Well, and this is a guy. He makes he used to. I don't know what he does anymore, but he would make TV shows and podcasts for like Mexican TV. And he did it all in Woodburn."
Well, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Huh. And so he's like, "You're gonna be on a podcast. It's gonna broadcast down in Mexico on this channel." And I'm like, "That's cool. Whatever, man. I don't care even a little bit about where it goes. I just want the experience." So he sat down with me. He pulled out this teeny tiny little mixer. He put a microphone in my hand. He just started asking me about making videos and stuff, and I was like, "Okay, what do you do with it now that it's done?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to put it into this program. I'm going to edit it down, mix it, make it sound good, and then ship it off."
Huh.
And immediately I was like, "Well, this is what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing. I'm going to chase this feeling forever." And so I started making more podcasts. And it wasn't until I met my business partner, and he was a journalist, and I was a quote-unquote podcaster. We put it together, and I was able to actually
And that's where you come up with Lewis and Lovecraft, the first one?
That's where we came up with the Canby podcast.
The Canby one, the Canby News.
So we do the news for the town of Canby, and that's what takes care of our studio here, and where I get to say, yes, I'm a professional podcaster, and I put to use my degree. And so then...
Which is true, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you did. You went into that field.
But it was...
Why aren't you a millionaire? What the hell?
I don't know, man.
I trusted you.
I'm trying. Well, but then I became an electrician, right? Or low volt tech. And because I had to pay the bills. I had to take care of wife and kid. And eat, sleep, breathe, all that stuff that requires money nowadays.
So I got into podcasting doing it with you.
Yeah.
But I was an early adopter and listener to podcasts after the last format change of my favorite radio station, my favorite terrestrial radio station. And I got so mad, I wrote the the producer or the program director, and I said, pack sand. Here's the answer to your job. It's called podcasting.
Yeah.
And it was, matter of fact, I still mimic the guy they took off, who's Mike Ricker.
Yeah.
And he is up in Seattle now. He was from there, and he was a big timer. He had the funniest shtick on the radio. It would make me, he was riotous to listen to.
Yeah.
Riotous. When they took him off the air and they changed the entire format, I went, I'm done. I have to find it. And Rick Emerson had a talk show, and he went podcasting. And so Rick Emerson and Sarah X. Dillon, they did 2 podcasts. And so I subscribed at $80 a year to Rick Emerson's podcast because I thought Rick Emerson, and still do, I just love him. He's an excellent broadcaster.
Yeah.
Listened to his podcast, and he got me into Stephanie Miller, and then that went on. And so I have been literally listening to podcasts since Rick Emerson went off the air and into podcasting, which honestly would have been whenever KUFO changed their format.
Sure.
So right before that is when I went into it. And I stopped listening to podcasts when I started doing this.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, I did it when I started Between Lewis and Lovecraft, which I did after the Canby news, because I met a friend of mine, Hannah, who reads more than I do, and I wanted to do a show where we get to talk about authors and stuff because I write books. And I stopped listening to a lot of podcasts at that point because I wanted to read more, but I didn't have time to physically open up a book, so I needed to listen to audiobooks to do it. And that's one of the reasons why Half Watt exists, because I was at work listening to audiobooks and podcasts nonstop, pulling wire and trimming devices and, doing labeling, like just the most boring, tedious things you can do, especially as an apprentice. And so like, I realized that I was obtaining all this information. I could listen to an audiobook about a person's life and then a couple weeks later sit down and just spill it all out in my own voice, holding on to the information enough to be able to have that. And I still, like, one of the best things about Between Lewis and Lovecraft is now when I'm at parties or get-togethers, like, I can be like, oh, did you know C.S. Lewis had a spanking fetish? Like, these weird things.
That.
Yeah, it's super cool. Go listen to my podcast.
Oh, no, no kidding.
Yeah, for real. Huh. It's a real thing. And
let that be a lesson to you.
And so I'm realizing listening to information especially while you're doing something, there's something about it that integrates it into your mind. At least for me. I don't know about other people. I just assumed that other people were the same way because they're also listening to podcasts. Yeah. One of the first journeymen I had at my first company, he introduced me to Dan Carlin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Hardcore History.
That's a good podcast.
Which, I'm not going to mention who it is or where he works, but if you know who you are, just know that you introducing me to that show is a direct reason why this show's happening, because I listened to that and went, this is fantastic. I'm learning. I'm becoming better as just a human being because I'm absorbing history and its lessons while I'm trimming data jacks, I can be a better person.
You're doing 2 things at once. You're getting better at doing your hands work, and you're listening to Dan.
I am building this building while I'm infusing more information into my brain.
I get the same one.
And so that just created this fire for this show where it was almost immediately after that I talked to you the first time.
So you were sitting in my class, and we were. You said, I have a podcast, and I said, I'd love to do a podcast. And you said good,
very earnestly.
Yeah, when the time's right. I said, well, when the time's right, give me a call, and you did.
Yeah.
And here we are.
So that's what this is. If you're listening to this show, then the hope is through our lectures, through our fun roundtables, through interviews with people, you're learning a little bit more about the industry, or hell, just being a good person, right?
Yeah.
And the hope is that you share that with other people and that you tell people about the show, because we've been doing this for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Right. And we're seeing a little bit more numbers come in, and it's fantastic. I love it more than anything, popping on and seeing how much this has grown. But we're not getting a ton of engagement. And like I said earlier, the number one thing I want out of this is to build that community of people who have knowledge, have a passion for what they do, a pride in what they do, which if you talk to most technicians, they take pride in their work.
They do.
So share that with us.
They do, yeah. And there's no reason not to. And I don't go into all the things I'm interested in. I don't talk about horses. I don't talk about ham radio. I don't talk about physics. I don't.
You
talk
slipped
about
in UFOs a couple weeks ago. You did get it in there.
Well, thanks, Alan. That's been a recent desire of mine. Or military, or, Navy crap too much. I just kind of, like, people who know me, because when I teach, I cover all that stuff. I don't cover World War II very often, although we talked about doing, a podcast, a shoot off of that, which I think would be
if we were ever able to get to numbers where we could get sponsorships.
Yeah.
If you're a company and you want to talk to us about, having an ad or being a part of the show, let us know. Seriously, halfwattpod@gmail.com. That's how you can reach us. If we were able to bring in more money and justify the studio time, then we have so many ideas.
Oh man, it would open up Pandora's box for me.
Yeah.
I would immediately cover the change in technology because of war, because of the military, which is a huge passion of mine.
Yeah.
And now that I've aligned that with this UAP UFO thing and physics, which has been my current mistress, it's just consuming. And the podcasts that I do listen to now are literally
about physics
and stuff like that. And so that has been a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody can do a podcast on horses. What'd you do with your horse? You do. Well, I'll pick poop out of its hoof.
Yeah.
I did that.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds real boring.
It is kind of. Yeah.
I know Gage has an idea or two for shows that he wants to do on his own, and I want to support that. I like being the guy behind the computer.
Yeah.
Right. Especially for this, because I don't know enough about the trade to be the voice of it, right? I love listening. I love learning and taking it in. And so being behind the computer allows me to do that. It allows me to listen to the conversations and take in as much as I can to be a better person and technician. That being said, if there is a niche of people who want a trade-oriented Dungeons and Dragons podcast, I'll do that.
Yeah, I could see
do that.
There's a lot of people into that.
So,
Yeah, more than you think.
I love when I'm on a work site and you find another fantasy nerd, D&D nerd or someone, and I'm always surprised. And this comes from me being the lonely nerdy kid in high school, when there's a couple of ladies that I talk to and I'm like, I play D&D a lot, and they're like, oh, I love D&D, and I'm like, really? This is weird that you're a female electrician. You're already a minority, and within that minority you're also a D&D nerd.
Now you're also a D&D nerd, yeah.
There's a 1% chance that's happened, and I mean, I think I'm always excited when I find someone that I wouldn't expect. I met our police officers of Canby, and I found out that they play D&D.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and I was
I would never.
This is one of the greatest things
I never would
heard.
have thought that.
Yeah, and they were explaining their characters to me, and I was like,
well, now that would be hilarious.
I was so excited.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
See, and I think you could spin off and talk about barbecue. I think there's you think I'm bullshitting you, but there are people I know who are huge fanatics in cooking, and barbecuing is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And obviously beer drinking, but I don't do that anymore. But there's I've got my soon to be other journeyman Chris. who I want to get on the show as well, is really into fantasy sports. Like really into fantasy sports. Like that's his whole shtick. And he coaches sports for his kids and stuff like that. I'm kind of a dullard in I don't know anything about the sports balls. I know nothing about the sports balls. Yeah. Like I don't know, if you get a home run when you play football or not. I have no idea. But I know enough to be dangerous about it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Sure.
But there are, even in the students that I've interviewed, that I've not interviewed but had talk about stuff. I've got a guy who's a former pilot. Like I flew commercial airlines for like all over the globe.
Yeah.
I would love to have him on the podcast.
Yeah,
I would love to have a guy who was a pilot who left being a commercial pilot, not a private pilot that also, I'm not saying
about Chip. We just had Chip on the show, right? Used to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
Now he's installing
systems. So, you've got all these folks with these other things that they did.
We need to do a show or a series called My Past Life.
Right, what I used to do.
Yeah, where it's like just my very first journeyman used to be an archaeologist.
What?
Yeah.
Get out.
It's crazy where
archaeologist?
Yeah. Like graphic designers,
how do you change
archaeologists, high volt guys who want to go low volt guys who want to go high volt. We got firefighters, we got Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Like this industry has everybody.
It does. It really, really does. The IT guy I used to work with, I could probably get him on the show. He used to drive a tank for the Corps. He was a Marine tanker.
Yeah.
I find military stuff is still trips me up. So I've worked with 2 SEALs, 1 Force Recon guy. A Force Recon is a Marines. I would say Marines version of SEALs, but that's unfair.
Yeah.
Force Recon is a different group of people. Still twist your neck just as well as anybody else. Just a different discipline. I've met guys who worked on nuke weapons in the Air Force. I've met, avionics technicians. I've met construction people. I've met. It's insane.
There's a huge rogues gallery of people who have had different career paths. And they landed
retail.
Here.
People who left retail and stuff like that to jump out of that. Mechanics, diesel mechanics, car mechanics.
We have a mechanic at our company who left to become
to do something different.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and it's great because it's always interesting to see what information they bring to this. Right? You have mechanics who are like, I know how a car works, but I don't know how this system works. And then you go, look, it's logic relay, or it's relay logic.
Yeah, usually.
It's open or close, and I feel like the couple mechanics I've talked to, it clicks with them real fast.
I had a guy who was one of my mechanics that was in my class on Tuesday, and I was doing the DC to Daylight lecture, and of course it's always different, so I was doing a different format.
You don't just play our first episode and then walk out?
No. But I did this a little bit differently this time because I've always been changing it up, and I'm trying to throw a little bit more physics into it, a little bit less just obtrusiveness and And one of the guys who was a mechanic said, this must be how the ODB2 systems communicate out. The car computer communicates out to an ODB2 reader. Because there was an earlier version before ODB2 that I think used pulse code modulation, picked up exactly what I was laying down.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was laying down. I'm like, dude, bingo. So, because it's all about communication.
Yeah.
It's all about communications. This is a form of communications. Everything about when I teach, this is Morse code, this is radar, this is FM, this is AM, this is frequency shift keying, this is blah, 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 blah. This is all these techniques, this is Baudet, this is all these things from our history, all the way back into the 1800s and earlier, really, all the way to now that we're still using.
Yeah.
So you can't look back at, 1790 and go, that was a long time ago. No. The stuff that they were working on then, all the way through the 1800s, all the way through the 1900s, we're still using in 2000.
Yeah.
So that's not ancient history.
Yeah.
It's not. It's still relative to. It's still relative to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when you can see people come alive when I show them that, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you could go back and look at World War II and realize that, oh my God, these people it wasn't black and white then.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because we didn't have a lot of color films of it. People saw in color, and they had technology that we should know about and we should understand. And when you realize that, oh my God, most of these people that I'm teaching now were born, some of them were born in the
late early 2000s.
Yeah, or the 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you were born just after 9/11, you're 22 years old, right?
Yeah.
So
big timer.
It's they're in the workforce. So I'm excited to see the future of our industry and the techs that come along with it. I think we're gonna wrap up here.
Well, that was an exciting, time we just spent, and we had been BSing for a good hour before we got here, so our pumps were already primed.
The big question for you guys this episode is gonna be, if you could go to another country,
where would you go?
Where would you be a tech? If it's
and
America,
why?
That's fine. Is it a different state in America? Is it
maybe you want to go to Louisiana for some ungodly reason.
Maybe you want to go to Alaska. Hey, if you want to just go to Hawaii, we want to hear it. We want to hear where it is, why it is. It should be New Zealand, specifically either Mount Doom or Hobbiton.
But get involved with this and let us know that you're out there. Let us know that you care. Even if you just drop us a message and say, hey man, I don't want to go anywhere. I like it in Oregon because I love the freaking rain. Fine. But do communicate to us and if you
let us know what you think.
If your boss wants to sponsor this, if you want to chip in some scratch for your company to sponsor this podcast or be a part of it, and then we say sponsored by,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be super cool.
It'd be super cool. I mean, it really,
I didn't
know
this was going to turn into a what is it called, like a funathon, where it's always
like
make sure you help us, or else we're going to be turned off by the end of the year.
That's not what's going to happen. But what do they call it in the PBS world? It's
I can't remember. I can only think of funathon.
No, but
I know that's not right.
It's
because I'm thinking of The Office when Michael's like, it was a fundraiser, not a fundraiser. We had a lot of fun.
Oh my God.
But yeah, telethon. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to the PBS telethon. Make sure you show us support so that we can
support. So then and everybody turns it off because you can't take it anymore.
it's just
that's not what this is. No, because I'm not really looking for scratch that way. I'm just looking for information and let's move some data and let's talk about what's important to you. And I would think a live broadcast, honest to God,
that'd be super fun.
A live broadcast with other electricians, like on a Friday night when they can let their hair down and just be themselves.
Just hang out, guys.
Would be hilarious.
Yeah,
and then I can just be like, I can totally uncork because I keep a lot of a lot of characters don't come out because I don't want people to blacken my eye, but whatever.
So reach out, tell us where you would go if you could be a tech anywhere in the world. halfwattpod@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next week for another roundtable. And make sure you go check out 2 websites for us. First is our Instagram, right? Our Instagram is @halfwattpod. We need followers there because we do contests. Someone just won a whole pack out.
Yeah.
We want to do more contests.
That was a big deal.
So go check that out. Our YouTube. Every once in a while, I'm able to film and put on to our YouTube our episodes. So if you want to see our pretty faces, the more followers we get there, subscribers, the more it justifies me.
Handsome. I mean, if you don't know that, if you've not seen me, I am absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So there you got that going for you.
Then I can justify sticking cameras in front of people and being like, look, we have subscribers now. We have to give them something to look at.
And if you're really nice, I'll show you my 100-pound German Shepherd who guards me.
Yeah.
Like business.
So yeah, go ahead and close us out there, Mike.
All right, big timers. So this is for you. This is really for you. So let's get involved with it. And even if you do live in Oklahoma, we'll accept. I'm always picking on Colton. So, I love you, Colton. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Half Watt Podcast. We always want to hear from you, and we encourage you to email us at halfwattpod@gmail.com with questions or even your own stories. Funny, crazy, or praiseworthy, we want to hear it all. You can follow us on Instagram at halfwattpod to stay up to date on our feed. And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And share us with a friend, the best way to help us grow. The Half Watt Podcast is a production of Now Hear This Studios.